Hey, we're going to fix some stuff with Jeff. Today I am going to install a rear view camera on an older Subaru Baja. So, let's get started. Well, there's the beast. You can see I already put it up on ramps. I doubt I'll need that, but I figured what the heck, if I need a little additional room underneath, I'll already have it up. So, for prep, I need to go get my drill, but what we've got so far is the camera itself. I bought a little camera kit on eBay. Comes with the camera, it comes with the RCA wire, which also includes the little power wire. Comes with the power wire for the camera, the power wire for the RCA piece. This is plugged into the back of the radio in the dashboard, which tells the unit when to turn on the camera. This is the one that provides the actual power to the camera. The kit comes with this little hole saw. So I intend to put this flush mount facing directly back right in the center of the bumper. So that's what the hole saw is for. I've gathered some tools. I've got some wire cutters and wire crimpers, a couple of screwdrivers. This mongrel here, I've had this tool for 20 years or so. It's originally for a GM grommet. It takes these kind of things out, and it does really well with it. So I've got that prepared, of course, some black tape. I've got a couple of straightened out coat hangers because I suspect I'll have to fish some wiring through some holes to get it all the way up to the head unit of the car. I've got some torque wrenches here and a couple of screwdrivers. First thing I want to do is figure out exactly where I can and want to mount the camera. So if I come down underneath, what I really would like to do is mount it right here above the trailer hitch, center of the bumper. So I'm going to peel back the bumper a little bit and make sure that there's enough room behind this to account for the depth of the camera. Here we go. Easy enough so far. I'm going to go get that mongrel of a tool. I'm going to pop off these plastic rivets, these plastic things. And I'm going to make sure I've got enough space here for the camera to sink into the hole. Be right back. Oh, I started peeling off all the little grommets, the plastic body panel pieces, and to take off the rear bumper. And I found that the rear bumper is tucked behind the tail light, and I'm going to need to take the tail light out to access the rear light wire anyway, so I'm going to pop that off right now. You can see right here, there's a nice little covering piece. I'm going to pry that off and see what's underneath. Yep, broke it. It's cold out, and you want to be careful with your plastic pieces. I'll be right back. So once that plastic little cover comes off, there's a couple of Phillips head screws holding it in, and then gently take this light and it'll pull straight back towards the back of the car, and from here you can access the wire. So I'll just take the bulbs out and be able to remove the plastic piece. There, I got the taillight housing removed. I got the bumper loose. I didn't even take off all the other side here, or the other light, but you can see I did loosen all of these plastic grommets using the same tool, a screwdriver and that nifty grommet removal tool. But as I pull it back, I'm not sure how well the camera's going to show it here, but right in the center of the bumper, I can see I've got the metal piece here, which frankly I'd rather not drill into. I could if I had to, but I don't want to. But there's a nice foam piece, as is traditional behind most bumpers, and there actually is enough space for my little camera. So I'm going to go get my drill and drill my hole for the camera. So I thought this would be interesting to watch. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. I've got my hole saw mounted on my drill. I already started, but I figured I'd stop the video and show. That's the hole saw at work. Simple as that. Now I can see in there, not sure if it'll show in the video, I did touch the foam, so I might have to just dig out a little bit of the foam in order to get the camera to fit. We'll go find out. A pretty easy way to figure out if the hole is deep enough is just stick something in the hole, see how deep it goes. Comes out not that deep, it's only like an inch. So then compare that to the depth of the camera, and you can see it might fit really flush, but there's no room for the wires. So what I am going to do is get that hole saw and just dig into the foam just a little bit, make a little room for the wiring. Well, I found that hole saw just wasn't deep enough to really get in there and make enough room, so I got a paddle bit instead. Traditionally made for wood, but it's foam, so we've got no big deal here. This it's a 3/4 drill bit, and we'll see. It just sinks nicely into the foam. Many naysayers out there talking about the safety of drilling out the foam of the rear bumper. I agree, but we're not talking any serious removal of significant material. We're talking about a 3/4 inch little space, enough for a 1-inch camera. So I'm not worried about it. I'll be back. I hollowed out the hole, the foam behind the hole. Now it's time to route the camera through the hole. So what you can see here, I think this is important. It's a flush mount camera, so I don't know exactly what end is up and what end is down. It's not marked in any special way of what's in and what's down. So I'm going to snake the wires through the hole, but I'm not going to push this completely in and mount it until the thing is fully wired, at which time I can rotate it and find out what's up and down, because I don't want to mount it in the bumper, turn it on for the first time and have it 75 degrees off or whatever. I want it to be straight up and down. So I'm going to snake it through the hole, but I'm just going to leave it hanging out of the hole for now until I get it wired. Then we'll figure out what's up. Then I'll mount it once and for all and be done with it. And the result is the camera ready to be pushed in and mounted finally, with the wires easily accessible hanging underneath. Now I can get the next stage of wires and start routing them through the body panels and up to the front of the car. So I got my 2 wires. I connected the power wire and taped it off to keep it as waterproof as possible, because this is the bed of essentially a truck and it's going to get wet. Did the same thing with the RCA cable. Now we have some wiring choices to make. The RCA cable we talked at the beginning of the video comes with this additional little red tail wire. I only intend to use this backup camera when I put the car in reverse. It comes on. When I take it out of reverse, it comes off. And to do that, we can simply attach the red wire, the tail from the RCA cable, directly to the power source for when I throw it in reverse. So essentially we just attach the 2 red wires here. In order to do that, I've separated this wire. I'm going to leave the black one intact. I'm going to cut the red wire, splice that in. I'm going to use one of these types of wire connectors, the crimp-on type. Melt down the end so it seals a little bit and tape it off and keep it as sealed as possible. So there we have it. We have side by side the RCA cable and the power cable. I spliced the red wire of the RCA cable into the red wire of the power cable. I taped the ever-loving crap out of it, so hopefully it won't leak. I made sure I sealed both ends of the connection, and now we can continue wiring on. So what I'm going to do is route the wire up around the bumper, come up around the bumper, and eventually come out here at the wiring harness of the tail light, find the hot wire to the reverse light, and splice that red wire into the reverse light, and that's done for the power on this end of the car. That part was exceptionally easy. So what I did, just like I said I was going to do, I just dragged the wires across inside the bumper, since the bumper was loose, up through here, into a hole in the body, and now I've got access to the wires. I pulled both the RCA and the power wires right through the where the rear tail light section goes. So now I can wire up the rear power, the backup power. And what we're going to do is find the appropriate wire, splice in the red here, and we'll just ground the black directly to a body screw somewhere locally here. I pulled the I'm going to tuck this in so it just doesn't come back through the hole. Well, there it is. I pulled the RCA cable through as well, and I found that this shoots straight up inside the plastic paneling, and we'll take it into the cab and wire it up momentarily. Here's how I'm identifying which wire to tie into. So we have the reverse light on top, rotate that around, that's this bulb. We have a black and a green, and specifically the green with the black stripe. So I'm looking for the green with the black stripe. I follow that into the wiring harness here. That is the top center, green with the black, that goes through this wiring harness into the car's wiring harness, which is here. We look at the top center, and indeed we have, it's not green with the black, it looks like black with a yellow stripe, and that black with the yellow stripe is the wire that I'm going to cut into for the hot wire for the reverse light. So I'm going to peel this wire loom back a little bit with a razor and splice it in the same way I spliced in the power wire down below at the camera itself. I'll be back when that's done. Before I start in splicing that wire, I wanted to show you I have put the car in reverse. So I know it's sunny, but the reverse light is on. I come over to the other side, and I've got my multimeter, and I'm actually going to test that wire, make sure that's the right one. So I'm going to set the camera down. Not sure I'm going to be able to see this, or you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to give it a whirl anyway. So I'm touching the wire I was looking for, which is the black with the yellow. I'm grounding it, and sure enough, my multimeter, as I ground it, I'm going to try to get this in view of the camera. You can see it is getting power. So that's my wire. So I've spliced in my power wire. I'm happy to see that once I cut back the wire loom, the wire I was actually looking for wasn't black with yellow, it was brown with yellow. I could see that after the end piece was peeled back, and quite frankly it wasn't so dirty under the wire loom. So I still haven't found my place for my ground wire yet. I'll find a nice body bolt, presumably under this panel. I did retest my connection with the center pin and made sure that the 12 volt power was back to make sure my connection was sound. Taped it back off. Now I'm just going to clean up the wire loom and tape it all back together and take the next steps thereafter. So next step is to remove the inner body panel. So I need 3 of these along the top. These are a Torex number 30, and I presume these are 10s down here, and a handful of plastic body grommets as well. So we'll loosen that panel up, see what's underneath. I'm doing this to find both the ground for the wiring as well as to move the RCA cable through the body panels up to the front. So I've taken out all the screws, and I've taken out all the plastic grommets, and I've taken off the plastic panel just like so. Set it aside. If I hop in here, I can see, first of all, I've got a clear path right through for my wires. I've got my ground wire right here, and I thought for a moment, I'll hop up here. I thought for a moment they already have a nice body ground right here. That would be great to tie into. My wire could reach, but it'll be tense. You can see it's just a little too tight to make it there, and as soon as I put that body panel back on, it might actually put some tension on. So I'm not going to attach it here, but look down here on the tie down of the bed. We've got a nice ground bolt right there. So I'm going to put a nice wire end connector on here, unbolt that, bolt it up there. It'll be a nice ground. There we have it. I have my ground wired in. So the wiring in the back of the car is actually done and all connected. Now the next job is to route the RCA cable from the back of the car to the back of the stereo. Had a couple of things I've done in the interim between takes, and one thing I've done is I had to move the car inside because it's getting darker, it's getting colder, and I think it's going to either rain or snow, and I'm freezing out there. So the lighting for the second half of this video not going to be as good. I reattached the rear headlight, the tail light, rear headlight. So anyway, this is called a tail light, and I've put it back in and screwed it back in. I zip tied up the RCA cable just a little bit as it goes through the bed. But before I proceeded any further, I took the RCA cable, and instead of routing it where obviously it's got to go, I just brought it around into the cab of the car, and I wanted to make sure it works. So I bought this Boss radio out of Crutchfield. I want to give it a shout out to Crutchfield. Crutchfield, they deliver a quality product at a good price, and their service is exceptional. If I have any questions, I can just give them a call, and they're, you know, a call or an email or whatever, and they're pretty slick. So this video is not going to go into detail about how to replace the head unit. That was another day, and I didn't take a video, and I'm sure there's other videos online about that. Be that as it may, the Crutchfield stereo did come with a connector, which I've already wired in, obviously, and never had to cut into the factory wire harness. But the connector is cool enough that it provides labels on all the wires. So I found in this case it's a purple wire with a white stripe. Also the rear camera RCA input, so I've already connected that. You saw in the back, the car is in reverse. So I'm going to connect that red lead wire to the purple wire, and what we should see on the stereo itself is exactly that. You can see the camera is working. It's got a picture. Now remember, I did not yet actually mount the camera, so we're probably looking at the bottom of the tailgate or whatever we're looking at, but now is a good time to find straight up, and I can actually mount the camera. Okay, now that I know everything works, I popped in the camera so it's nice and flush mount, and it's straight up and down, so that part is done. So I've got the wire back out here. We're going to end up snaking it up into the body through a grommet up there, which I know you can't see from here, but we come around and we'll take off this cover, which comes off. We're going to end up taking this whole body panel off. I've had this off before. It's just those traditional snap mounts. Takes two hands, so I'm going to turn off the camera and remove this piece, and then we hopefully can snake the wire through a grommet that's right around this area right here, and we'll just tuck it under through here, tuck it under through here, up to the front. It'll go under the dashboard into the back of the stereo. We'll hook it up once and for all, put the stereo back in, and the job should be done. So I took the plastic panel off, I found the grommet I want to be able to push the wire through, and I mentioned before the idea of having a coat hanger ready. Well, right here I've taken my coat hanger, snaked it through that grommet, come around on the back side, and indeed, I know it's upside down, whatever, I got that same coat hanger over here with a hook on it. Now what I'm going to do is take my wire, put it on the hook, and gently pull it through. And when I get to the end, when I get to the RCA end, I'm obviously going to take a little extra time and care not to rip that off, and gently guide it through. Little tip for the video is sometimes a little shot of WD-40 around the hole that you're trying to snake it through makes all the difference. So I'm going to do that and then snake this through. I gotta be honest, I was a little nervous about pulling that wire through the grommet, and it was smooth as butter. I did shoot it with WD-40, it came right through, it's beautiful. So now, the important thing is, I need to take the wire that just came through and zip tie it off, especially so it's not going to get caught up in the seatbelt mechanism. So I'm going to zip tie it to the existing wire loom, and follow, for the most part, the existing wire loom right under some paneling. I'll do that, and I'll come back momentarily. Okay, I took a minute to bolt back on the inner panel inside the bed. Oh, look at that. It is snowing out there. Don't know if you can see that. Glad I moved it into the garage. Anyway, what I mentioned a moment ago, I want to tuck that wire behind the seatbelt mechanism so you can see the black wire. I zip tied it off so it has no chance of getting intertwined with the seatbelt. And I zip tied it along the wire loom a little bit. And the next step is I've already pulled up on this. This is just the traditional body clamps, and I can snake it under here. We'll move it along under this panel, along, what is that, the B frame, B pillar. And I'll probably end up using the coat hanger for that as well, so I don't have to just remove this whole piece. Just because I'm lazy, I think it'll go pretty quick. Alright, here's the moment of truth. I did exactly what I said. I snaked the wire through underneath the dashboard, underneath the glove box, in the back of the stereo. I hooked it up like I showed you before. In goes the key. Pop it in reverse. You can see the stereo is booting up. And slide it in reverse. Moment of truth. Hell yeah! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to install a rear camera into a 2006 Subaru. Cheers.